Microphone check, 1, 2, what is this? It's the 5'7" assassin in the podcast business. I am your host, Rohan Patra, the rap music plug at your service.
Here we are again at the end of the rainbow.
Every so often, on rare occasion, we get two artists that come together at that exact right moment where their skill sets and mindsets align in perfect harmony. This is what I see with Fatboi Sharif and Steel Tipped Dove's latest album released on Backwoodz Studioz titled Decay. Had this collaboration came to fruition pre-pandemic, let's say, at a time when Sharif's unique style of rapping wasn't nearly as eccentric or refined, his writing not as deeply surreal and personal, without the backdrop of worldwide disarray and death as lyrical inspiration, the results could have been much different. Luckily, with Decay, this isn't the case because Sharif's been progressively growing as a vocalist and lyricist over the past few years, whose unique gifts mesh perfectly with the vast, atmospheric, and cutting-edge brand of experimentation found in Steel Tipped Dove's production that Dove has continuously honed in on and perfected over the years. Decay is a soundtrack for the times, not necessarily the times that are upon us at this very moment, but what may soon be our unfortunate reality in just a few decades from now. Decay is a psychedelic masterpiece, a result of two creative minds joining forces at that exact right time in their careers. Sharif and Dove are here today to break down how this excellent new album was created in the latest installment of the album Alchemy series. The Rap Music Plug podcast presented by QLC TV is the remedy to the I don't have anything good to listen to problem. Through in-depth artist interviews, album reviews, and general rap commentary on the best that the underground rap scene has to offer, this is your one-stop shop to knowing what to add to your queue, play next, or pop into your record player. Welcome to the show. Fatboi Sharif, Steel Tipped Dove, how are you guys doing today?
What's going on, man?
Very happy to have you on. Sharif's the first three-peat. Dove's here for the second time. Very happy to have you. This is
Hey, baby, I'm Mike Jordan. Stop playing.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, man. How have you guys felt about the response that you've gotten so far? So we're recording this on July 23rd. So the album's been out for 2 days officially. How have you guys felt about it?
Great.
Been amazing so far. Super blessed. Shout out to everybody that's been showing love, tweeting about it, all of the press that have been covering it so far, and it's truly a blessing. Shout out to the whole Backwoodz staff for believing in the product and working hard to get it where it needed to get to on their end. Like it's been amazing so far, and we got a bunch more stuff on the way. So just stay tuned.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's been exactly what we wanted it to be, which was great, and some, and some extra exceeded expectations as well. So it's been incredible.
Mm-hmm. And I think when I think about the sound of this album, I think one thing I've always loved about your production, Dove, is that, and I think I've told this to you before, it's like it's experimental, but I feel like your strain of experimentation isn't as abrasive as some others. It's a lot of use of space. It's not as like incredibly noisy necessarily, although there are noisy moments on this album. And I just think the vast atmosphere is a really cool combination with like a vocalist like Sharif, who's like vocal inflections, the melodic elements, all those like synchronicities. I don't know how to say that word. I think just really marry beautifully with your kind of production. So like, talk to me about the kind of sonic landscape you were trying to paint for this album, and particularly for an artist like Sharif.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I didn't set the sonic soundscape ahead of time. That kind of came through the two of us starting to work together. So once my more so when you're referring to like the sonic soundscape and the world, kind of the cohesiveness, that comes towards the end of the project after all of it's been recorded, and that comes more in the sequencing and the post-production and the effects choices and the transition choices. But at the outset, it's really Sharif at first directing where the sound and world is going to go by selecting the beats that I've already made. I'm not making them custom for this project. I've just got beats, folders full of beats, and he's kind of like being selective and choosing the ones that he's going to take home and write to. And that's what kind of develops the world. It happens more towards the end of the recording than the beginning.
And so there was a lot of post-production work that you did, particularly in terms of what, like, because there's a few songs that have a lot of kind of vocal samples, like or dialogue from movies. Is that the kind of idea, or those kind of transitions that were done after the fact?
Yep. Sharif would come with like maybe movie clips or dialogue from YouTube videos, and then I would blend those with, the end of samples that were being used in the beats or drums being used in the beats, and just kind of like make intros and outros of songs that way and blend the album together and make it a cohesive project.
Nice. And Sharif, like, do you feel this album is potentially your most like accessible or digestible album yet? Because this is actually funny. We had a conversation about this when I was in New York with some of your boys here, like Kohai and all of them, and they were saying that, and I hear what they were talking about, because at that time I hadn't even heard the album. I do see what they were getting at, but what are your thoughts on that?
I say it varies. I would say it's my most personal album, and I want to thank Dove for that, just because, like he was saying, the production and the soundscapes he was giving me at the time, it was making me peel back layers. So I was touching on stuff I never touched on other albums, from different family situations, different personal situations. So I can't really say. I'll say it's elements that may be more accessible, but to me, like, all of the pieces matter in it type thing, if you get what I'm saying. Like, I didn't go into it like, okay, I'm gonna make this be for everybody who ever liked the rap song ever. Like, I kind of still went into it like I'm gonna write it like on some Sharif shit, and that's kind of what came out. Whether it was something like Brandon Lee that was more catchy or easier to get, or something like Green Wing Shoulder Padding. That's the complete opposite.
I think that if you make something personal, it inherently becomes more accessible, right? So like people like to hear personal stories, so maybe that plays an element sort of subconsciously as well, to be able to refer to it as the most accessible quote unquote album that he's done.
Right. No, I like that. I think what we're talking about here about the personal aspect of the album, I think I want to get into more. So like, one thing I really love about this record is how the imagery, I feel like, hits surreal heights that I don't even think I've heard before, or I've rarely heard before from, like a Fatboi Sharif album in the past, but just generally. And I think you said it, you actually said something similar to what I was actually pulled out as a quote from, like, I think it was the Backwoodz description for this album, about how you touched on stories that you haven't touched on in the past, and you really got personal. And I think on top of the personal aspect, I think the thing that I really got from this album is that it feels like futuristic sonically, and then in kind of what you're talking about, but it doesn't really feel all that unrealistic. It's like if you're fast forwarding society like 50 years, maybe even less, and this is what it looks like, and it plays with this idea of like societal decay. I imagine maybe that's what inspired the album title, because I thought of it naturally when I was just thinking about what you were talking about. So what were some of like the core themes or inspirations you were focusing on in your rhymes?
Well, nah, I definitely feel you. I honestly kind of started the title, because it's dope how this project worked out, because we started it around 2020, I would say. Maybe a little, maybe 2021. It was funny because literally I was writing this, right in Cyber City and right in Havana at the same time. Like, writing and recording them, like, each at the same time. So like I would go from Dove Studio to Lung Studio to No Offense and knock out everything. And kind of like the songs and the way I was writing was kind of just a time capsule of everything that was going on from that time period to now. Literally from 2020, the world changed forever. Like whether it's just mental illness at one of the highest rates it's ever been. People paranoid about how they gonna eat, how much money they gonna get, how they gonna feed their families. So I kind of wanted I wanted the title to kind of represent that, and even the cover, you see like a abandoned house, but you see a sun on the other side of the windows beating through. Then you see the kids painting on the wall. Like it's kind of you gonna live in this world and you gonna die in this world. So what are you gonna do while you're here? Like it's shitty, shit is going on, but you still gotta wake up the next day. You still got the next day to change and switch everything that you're going through, whether for the good or for the bad. So that was kind of like, I would say probably around the second session, because a lot of the real popular songs on the album we made early. So like Brandon Lee, you would say that's one of your favorites. We made that in the second session. Boogie Monster, we made in the second session. So by the second session, we damn near had a title. Like, and we kind of just geared everything production and writing wise to push that narrative after that was like decided.
That's really interesting because this album came along together really nicely. Is that I think both the lyrics and the production do a really good job of bringing you, it like naturally brings me to the future, but what you're talking about is kind of just like in your normal kind of like esoteric way you rap. But I always just find myself feeling really uncomfortable and unsettled because of like what you're saying isn't like sci-fi. It's like, damn, that's not that far off potentially if we keep going down this route. And I think it just makes it feel a lot more real. Like you're like shining a light on the like dark underbelly of the world, if you will. And was that like a particular feeling you wanted to get in listeners? Like you wanted them to feel unsettled or uncomfortable?
No, I can't really say that. I would say I was just kind of naturally just writing how I felt at the time and how I felt at the moment. Like I put it a few minutes ago, like to me, art is supposed to scare, analyze, and inform. And that's something I always go for with my writing. Like, and this project was just another level of that we wanted to take it up a notch. And especially once we got the album done, the post-production, shout out to Dove, like he definitely came through in the clutch and added a whole nother layer and added more to the story, for sure.
Yeah, and I think and I guess Dove, as you were saying, the production, the beats were a lot of like the direction came a lot from Sharif, but I do find like the production that ended up on this album really felt like the most like gothic and just ethereal that I feel I've heard from you like ever before. Like there was a really consistent like Boogie Monster, Brandon Lee, Kingdom. I feel there's a lot of that feeling of just like this spooky kind of aesthetic to it that I think really did a great thing for the record.
Yeah, thank you. I seem to just make stuff. I seem to just not genre hop because it feels like I'm really centered in hip hop and rap, because most of the music that I make, I would like to collaborate with lyricists, rappers on. So it feels centered in rap and hip hop, but I really genre hop. I really like make a conscious decision to be like, well, this one's going to be weird and dark, or this one's going to be poppy and I don't care. I'll just in the same night make like 4 or 5 different vibes, and I'll kind of know that like there's this group of rappers that are gonna be like, this is not for me at all, and then there's this group that might fuck with it, and then eventually through the selection process, Sharif just kind of weeds out, picks ones, and then maybe through picking, if he comes through and picks a few and then those turn into songs, maybe the next pack I play is gonna be like kind of tweaked that way, but I'm still gonna go through everything. and I'm
Mhm.
still gonna flip through everything. I'm just gonna probably have more creepy beats in there.
Yeah,
There's always gonna be more dark stuff in there mixed in with the regular, for lack of a better word, regular stuff too.
yeah, the creepiness is definitely really felt. And yeah, like I just think there's like a glossiness to this album that reminds me of like your like the Call Me When You're Outside record, like,
Hmm.
but definitely not as bright and as, I don't know, I guess I'd say bright and hopeful. This one feels not necessarily hopeless, but it's just a whole different it's a whole different world that you're bringing us to, and I think I feel that a lot through the production. And I think what it does really cool for you, Sharif, is that this trademark atmosphere that I'm speaking of, I mentioned before, like I feel it did a good job of accentuating this kind of newer like evolution of your raps that have we've seen really since. I always point to that Jack O' Lantern record off of Gandhi Loves Children, because that one like really was the through line to Cyber City, and then moving forward where you kind of like hold notes longer, you play with your like inflections and vocal registers a lot more, and you do this again on this record. But fuck, I just feel like I haven't seen you do this so consistently over the course of an entire album, and it just really feels like you're rapping in a way I have not heard anybody rap before. And I say that completely straight up. Like I'm not saying that
No, I
half-ass,
appreciate.
like nothing like it.
No, thank you so much. No, I always kind of look at it as kind of like writing the verse and recording the verse is literally the easy part. To me, my most fun is coming when it's time to, all right, let me lay this verse. I might ask up, I might do 3 or 4 different ad lib tracks, and I might be like, yo, on the second one, I'm gonna scream. On the third one, I'm a hum it. But I want you to reverse it and put a filter on it. So bring that sound in and out of certain part. Like to me, like the whole listening experience is supposed to be just that, like the experience. So
Sharif
and
will
even
tell you he's gonna do 6 dubs before he even does the lead verse. He'll be like, "All right, I'm gonna record this song, but just so you know, there's 6 dubs coming."
cause I hear it for
There's a
fun.
vision. Yeah, there's a vision.
For example, something like DMT, dimethyltryptamine. When I wrote that, I was like, okay, the way the beat was, it was so hard and grimy. I told Dove, I was like, yo, I want I want you to put this video voice recorder thing on my second verse to make it sound like I'm on a walkie-talkie type shit. Like, and then when we heard it back, like we was like, oh shit, yeah, that's perfect. Like that brought the song to the next level. Like that brought the overall experience to the next level.
Yeah,
So
yeah, like
always,
Farewell Outfit is a prime example. That's like the most pronounced I felt, where you did like you had like a dub of you kind of yelling the and then you kind of saying it normally. Like that was really fucking
I
trippy
wish
in
I
a good
turned that
way.
up. I wish I had made that even louder. The yelling at the end of the farewell outfit, that could have been several decibels louder, but we're good. I love it. I'm just saying. Going back, I would have turned it up even more.
I feel that. I feel that. But yeah, I just think the way you pushed the way the vocal delivery was pushed on this album and how complemented the production was like just a really, it just really puts you in a trance. And I think I've heard this definitely for sure on many Fatboi Sharif albums in the past, but like never so consistently. Never so, and also never like just so deeply. Like, because I think something else, it's not really about the delivery as much as maybe just how you're writing, because each line of yours on this album really consistently feels like it's like a page, it's like a new page to the story. You're like saying something, and it's always these very surreal, powerful couplets that you could kind of take out. You could kind of take them out and read them as their own thing, but then if they're put together, it kind of just like adds on. It's very methodical. It's also just something like, it's just I don't really know of other rappers doing that.
nah, I appreciate you. Yeah, no, that's one thing. Like in the midst of this album, I definitely agree. Like, and I'll say this album definitely has some of my best writing, where I sat with myself and I was like, okay, like we about to get stupid on this. Like, and that's when you get songs like Phantasm and my favorite song on the album, Think Pieces, where it's funny because that's the longest song on the album, and I had more written because that beat just had me in such a zone. Like, but I was just like, damn, this shit 3 minutes and 40 seconds. All right, let's stop it. Like, this is the perfect ender kind of out of the way it stopped. But yeah, that was definitely the motive going into this album to kind of push the limits of writing because Dove pushed the limits, pushed the production limits. So me hearing everything he was doing and everything he was bringing to the table, I'm like, yeah, I can't just rap. I can't just regularly rap on this. I gotta, I gotta make this a whole body of. I gotta make this a whole body for people to intake.
And another key thing about this album is that what makes it feel very unique is that, and just kind of like very like complete in my opinion, is that it doesn't have features over the course of 39 minutes. And,
Yeah.
I found it funny when I interviewed Woods, he mentioned it that you didn't let him rhyme on this, which was just got me to laugh. What contributed to that decision for you guys to decide to make there be no features on this album? It's definitely not a common decision, I feel. Especially on a Backwoodz record where I always feel like I see someone on the camp on something.
Well,
what
I
led
know
into
that Sharif doesn't like to put a feature unless it serves the song, like there's not going to be there were no songs that were just rap for the rap's sake, there were no like just straight flex songs, like kind of but not really. So he's not just going to put a person on just for the sake of it. And then as we were going on and there was shaping up, like there was no obvious tracks for features. I kind of just started to campaign for it a little bit. I started to be like, let's have none. I pushed for that and I was successful.
No, and I kind of like I always think our verses and our songs are like conversations. So a lot of times, like when I'm having a conversation with the people, this is between me and them. Now, if it's somebody else that I think can add on to the conversation, of course. But
Right.
this particular project, like I wanted this message and this to get to the people with just me. Because like I said, it's super personal project, like touched on a bunch of stuff I never touched on. So the Decay
Yeah.
world was a two-person world, like coming in and coming out.
Yeah, I think this one Decay did a really good job of just like, I mean, I've listened to it a lot by now. I just feel that it's something where I just don't think of I don't think of other music when I listen to it, if that makes sense. Like I just don't, my focus is just nowhere. It's just like only on this album. Nothing's really reminding me of anything in a good way, I feel. I'm just listening to Decay. Like I just don't know how else to say it. A lot of times I listen to music and I'm thinking about like, oh, like another rapper could have sounded cool on this, or like, oh, this reminds me of that other album I might want to listen to next. Like I just like my mind doesn't really wander. It keeps my focus, which I think is really cool.
Nah, I appreciate you, bro. Nah, and honestly, we did our job. If you say that, that's what we set out to do with everything. So thank you for a fact.
Yeah, it's very singular.
Yeah, that's the word, singular, 100%. So in 2023, this album is now part of this growing Backwoodz Studioz legacy that's now being written about, detailed in length, which is great to see. How does it feel being a part of this kind of run of dominance? But more importantly, and more just curious from my standpoint, what was the label's presence or influence as it related to what we got on the album? Like what was the impact, if any, on the creative process?
Well, for me, it feels surreal to be part of Backwoodz, to have like not really been a direct part of it at its inception, but kind of have always been a fan and have always crossed over worlds, and then to a very much long time later ended up working with them and being directly involved, and then watching the growth is insane. And I don't think it'll ever not be surreal. I mean, the Central Park show, and which was a few years ago now, and like there's already it's just it's crazy. It's totally surreal. And as far as yeah, and it couldn't be a better place. And shout out to every person involved in that. And then as far as their influence on this particular record, there wasn't a ton. Like I pitched it to Woods. I was like, this guy, Fatboi Sharif, have you heard of him? He's been coming over. He's got a lot of mutual friends. I'm working on stuff with him. He's like, okay, play it for me later, when it's close to being done or whatever. And by the time I played it for him, he was like, this is, I this sounds great. This sounds weird, unique. Like, I'm down to do this. Let me hear it again in full when you're really done with it. But I'm definitely excited about it. And so when it was fully done, after he heard the whole thing as a final piece, he signed off and was like, let's put this out. So there wasn't like a ton of and then the technical personnel on the album. I mean, Willie Green's influence is on there. He's the mastering engineer, so he mastered my mixes. And those are incredible. And then there's co-production. Adi Meyerson, she's a jazz multi-instrumentalist, bass player, upright bass. She can produce as well. So she co-produced Green Wing Shoulder Padding, and she played bass on that. She played guitar on that. And yeah, so shout out her. So, she's a part of the, outer Backwoodz circle as well, sort of, in a way. And it's just like their influence is always on me. So I feel like in that way they influenced it, but they didn't really Woods didn't EP it or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't executive produce or anything.
No, I was going to say, like, that was one amazing thing about it, because I wanted to say Woods, I want to say he definitely got put on to me through the Gandhi album. And we built just regular stuff, like regular did a couple shows together or whatever. And Dove had played on the project and brought it to him, and he was feeling it. He showed love from the beginning on it. And that's another great thing about Backwoodz. They let you do your vision as an artist. They let you do your thing as an artist. Like, it wasn't one time he came like, maybe you should do this, do that. We sat, we built on it. We broke down what would be the best way to bring the vision to life, which was already recorded through different videos, pictures, and all of that. And the rest was history.
Yeah, it's pretty. I think that's the stamp of approval is in the fact that it really doesn't sound like there was a lot of like there was no EPing involved, but it didn't seem like there was these big extensive notes that were like, okay, if this is going to be on the label, you got to change XYZ. It sounds like from the get-go you got that support and like an understanding of the vision, which is really cool.
Yep,
definitely.
And so another thing I really wanted to I'm curious about with this album, particularly because in contrast with other albums where Fatboi Sharif is like the lead actor here, this one is not only the longest album you've done, but it's also an album where you kind of dig into this shorter song length thing, where a lot of these songs are around 2 minutes or even less often. And but yet it still is 39 minutes. So it's not like a short album necessarily. And I feel personally it's a really perfect length. And also personally, I love this kind of style of album. I've always just been partial to it, that kind of more vignette style, because it allows an artist and a producer and a rapper to add a ton of diversity without it being just like 2 hours long, which I don't like long albums generally. So what kind of inspired this structure particularly, and also making it this long? Because again, this is like I think Gandhi was 28 minutes. I guess the non-deluxe, I think is like high 20s. This is quite a bit longer. So what went into that?
I would say just wanting to create a full body of work, and this production, and kind of wanting to cross all of the T's and dot all of the I's with the concept once we figured out what we was going to do with it. To me, everything we wanted to touch on is not a 9-song, 10-song like thing. Like, it's different elements, and even just how certain parts of the story connect. Let's say if we start the album at Kingdom. That's track 8 or 10. There's a whole story what they've been told. And once you get to that last part of the story, like that's a key element in the story. Scar from Sixth Floor to Scarhead, Boogie Monster, the farewell outfit, all of those connect. So that was kind of just naturally how it came across with what we was writing and kind of like bringing the whole concept to life.
Yeah, I would agree with all that, and I would add on that I try to I think 39 minutes to 40 minutes is the sweet spot because of vinyl. I'm looking to put a lot of the projects that I'm working on vinyl specifically. So I kind of like try to head towards that. I won't I won't go nuts if we can't get it to that, but that's definitely a goal of mine with a lot of stuff because the excess 40 minutes you can use as bonus tracks and things like that. So
Yeah. I also just think it's the sweet spot for at least personally my own taste. I always find these like high 30s, low 40s is like what I want. I feel like it, and I have noticed also on Backwoodz releases, it seems to be the sweet spot with the labels being. I think it's also related to vinyl. I do know that's a big selling point for that kind of style, but I just do think this length and the way you guys made this album really works, especially because I don't know if we said it on the recording or not, but this album, even when the songs are like a minute long or a minute and a half long, they still feel like songs. They're not just like little ideas.
They're impactful.
Yeah, they're not sketches because, and a lot of big reasons because the production is so like leaves such an impression even in such a short runtime on a song, but then also the songwriting. There's a shit ton of hooks on this album. There's a lot of sticky little like refrains or mantras or whatever that are just kind of said that just earworm, even if the song's so short.
Yeah, nah, definitely.
Let's talk favorite songs. I think Sharif, we could start with you because I think you mentioned earlier. You said Think Pieces is your favorite.
Oh Lord, that shit is incredible. Thank you, Dove. That's one of the best beats I ever heard in my damn life. That, Roy, let me tell you something, man. That song, I'll give you my top three, and it's all kind of like for the same reasons. Think Pieces, East Hollywood, and Measuring Spoon Techniques. I'll do a toss up between Measuring Spoon Techniques and Scarhead. No, I'll do Scarhead. So it'll be Scarhead, East Hollywood, Think Pieces. But yeah, like all three of those beats to me was, especially East Hollywood, like, and I was joking about it earlier, like, to me, you can't show me an MC that can do that song. You can't show me a producer that can make that beat, but me and but Dove. So to me, that's like a one-on-one, like, and that's another strong thing on the album to me. It's a lot of one-on-one type things going on here. Like, Think Pieces you're not going to get from anybody. Scarheads you're not going to get from anybody. East Hollywood, like I said, you're not going to get that from any other album this year. You're not going to hear that from any other artist. So
yeah, that's what I was saying before, right? Like it's just when I listen to this album, I'm like, oh, I don't think of anything else. I'm like, oh shit, that's the Fatboi Sharif and Steel Tip Dove just doing their thing. I have no comments almost. It kind of leaves me like,
there's no.
I don't have anything to say. Yeah, it's just one of one. Dove, what are your favorite?
Well,
tracks?
It's funny because thinking of those tracks, like the East Hollywood track is, first of all, it's like a sample. It's a maybe 1 second of a sample of a 5-minute long sort of crazy piano crazy track that I put like a little reverb. It's like 1 second, and then the whole thing revolves around that. And I doubt it's in normal timing. The beat is very weird. Think Pieces is the same sample source material as Phantasm, flipped a totally different way and put in a different context, but I like it because it starts the second half of the album and it kind of like makes an impact that way. And then Scarhead is a crazy that little twinkly synth stuff is like generative. So it's like an arpeggiator that I just kind of like let rock, and then I added some weird bass over, and it's got a weird swing to it that the rest of the album doesn't really have. Scarhead. But for favorite tracks, I would say The Christening for sure, Dimethyltryptamine, The Farewell Outfit. Yeah,
Woo!
all these tracks. I love it. It's a very singular album.
You're mentioning that the rhythms on this shit. I think that's something that was also teased to me before I even heard the album, because I don't think the sounds necessarily when you put them together are that like just something like, I don't know, like I've never heard before as a fan of like generally left field, a lot of left field music, but the rhythms here, ton of these songs just just are just strange rhythms, offbeat, or
Yeah.
like not offbeat, but just like not the typical.
Oh no, they're offbeat, bro.
Yeah. There's just not a natural, not a typical swing that I come to expect, but they just all work.
They're crazy. Yeah, they're very, very weird. It's experimental music met in the center of a rapper and a hip hop beat maker who are interested in making very experimental genreless music rooted in hip hop.
Yeah, there's a good mix of like structure and then just like fuck the rules going
Yeah.
on here that I
mean,
think
we
is
listen to a
brilliant.
lot of weird music as well. Sharif has very weird eclectic music tastes, and I do as well. With like the stuff we consume, which influences what we make, is all over the map.
I think for me, my favorite tracks are Dimethyltryptamine.
Woo!
I'd say The Farewell Outfit. And then I guess like I don't know. I said Brandon Lee. I'll say Brandon Lee. Ash Wednesday. I love that hook. That's like that shit is that's one of them that I think Dove when I was over. You played that when I was. Remember I said like, damn, I haven't heard Sharif like do a song like this before. Like kind of
No,
got a
that
faster flow, a bit like just damn.
yeah, nah,
Love
I
that beat
wanted to
too. God damn.
I wanted to dance on this album. I wanted to do different shit. Flow, kind of like what you said with the would it be a longer album? I wanted to just bring a bunch of new stuff to the table. I wanted to keep it where you're not gonna know what a Fatboi Sharif album gonna sound like. Flow wise, beat wise, length wise, you never know. So
Is the Christening the one? What's the one where it's just mainly like a
Just a
where it
bass
says
line.
my is
Yeah,
the
My
bass line?
Family.
Yeah, that shit. That's great. That's
nah,
another
that
example of where I just feel like you did a such a good job of just picking a really good sound and like kind of knowing when to exercise restraint, when to add shit, and it just I've never heard anything like that. Just I feel like I say that all the time. It's the whole episode. I've never heard anything like that, but it's really for real.
nah, I appreciate you, bro.
Yeah, thank you.
Obviously, you got the Decay out right now. You kind of were teasing at some other things coming out, both like seemingly related to this record, but also just other things. So, I guess Dove, you can take it on. I know you got your Fused Arrow stuff going on too. So, like, what you got going on?
Yeah, nothing super planned directly related to Decay yet. I know we have another visual coming, so that'll be really cool. And we'll do some stuff. Sharif and we'll do some stuff. But for Fused Arrow, nothing's locked in, but it's semi locked in. I have a project with AJ Suede
Yeah,
that I'm gonna drop before the end of the year, kind of late in the year. Really cool project, just him and I, with some features. I'm working on a project with Dunce Cap. I'm working on a project with Adi Bop, the woman who co-produced Green Wing Shoulder Padding. Her and I are gonna co-produce an entire instrumental album, and then
Adi-
sprinkle, yeah, Adi Bop. We're gonna sprinkle some rappers on there, some features on there, get some cool people to be on there. So I'm working on that. I'm working with tons of people, the people I've already worked with, and trying to find some new people to work with as well. So a lot of stuff going on.
hell yeah.
The Jesus project that'll come out. I don't know any real information, but I made a project with Rap Frera and AJ Suede while they were here one day, and that'll come out. But no real information. And more stuff with Backwoodz hopefully as soon as possible.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see you working with Suede, even past the
that project's
Jesus.
gonna be crazy.
Yeah, because like I really loved Ark Flashington that just dropped, and
Yeah.
just generally he's been on such a run, and I feel you're kind of like brand of experimentation. I think he's just gonna push him in such a cool place. I just imagine similar to Sharif's his vocal tone.
Mhm.
Suede's got like the smoothest
Yeah,
shit
it's
ever,
good
the
shit.
one of the smoothest rappers ever heard. and I feel like
Sharif's
that's
got a
gonna
feature
sound
on that
great.
too, though. Sharif's got a feature on that, so he's on there.
Have you guys made a song before? Has Suede Sharif ever crossed paths on a record before? I don't on a song. I don't think so, right?
Nah, that's the homie. Yeah, hell yeah.
No, I
That's the
mean, like,
first
have you
one.
guys made a song together? I don't think so.
I'm on him and Small Professor album.
Oh yeah, you are. That's right. On 100 Year Darkness. Yeah, that's true. That's a dope song.
Another one that he did the beat on. Sway did the beat himself.
That's dope.
Yeah.
That's dope.
Hey, shout out to Sway. We got that show coming up too for his birthday party in Brooklyn.
Oh, fuck, I wish I was there. Damn.
September 3rd is going down. It's gonna be crazy. Hell yeah.
All right, so Sharif, what about you? What are some upcoming stuff people should look out for?
I won't say project names, but I'll just say me and Drive By got stuff cooked up. Obviously, me and Roper got some more stuff cooked up. Few singles, and that's all I'll give people for now. Like I got some got some surprises coming before the year out.
Before the year. Okay.
Yeah, some surprises coming. Stay very busy on this side, for sure. Dove, how you forget it's not all the way done, but I'll just tell the people, me still tipping Fat Tony got some bangers on deck. What? Exactly. You see how
Wow. Fat Tony,
Yeah.
that's a great comp. Oh man, I love Fat Tony. I love Fat Tony.
Yeah. I was told we have to finish principal recording on that, so I didn't know it was public knowledge, but we have several bangers, and it sounds to me like we'll make more one day. So I'm always making music with Fat Tony when he's in town, and so him and Sharif and I made a bunch of shit together.
Is that going to be an album or just gonna be
who
songs?
knows? We have an album's worth of material already, but some's got to be cut, some new's got to be made, it's got to be edited.
Stop giving all the surprises. Just know we got some flavor cooked up for a fact.
No, I'm excited for that. Fat Tony's got an album coming too, so I'm excited to hear that
great
sounds.
project.
Yeah. But on to Decay again. Just want to say this is an amazing album. Singular is the exact word, Dove. That's the perfect way to say it. Just so one of one. I'm really happy to see you guys getting the flowers you're getting, releasing this on Backwoodz. I think it's getting hopefully a lot of new listeners too, not just existing fans. Mm-hmm. And I think you guys hit this out of the park. I had very high expectations going into this. And wow, from the songs to the album cover to like the photos that were taken.
Shout out Tim Fish, Ginger Slim.
Yeah, absolutely killed it. It just all fits together perfectly. I think you guys just really made something
Douglas
special.
Peterson on the GDP, George Douglas Peterson on the photos, the press photos. Tim Fish on the album cover, and Dunce Cap on the music video. Incredible music video for Phantasm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think you guys just packaged this together perfectly.
Nah, I appreciate you, bro. And thank you for always supporting, showing love, and just always spreading what we do. Shout out to everybody who's been showing love so far. And Decay, go cop the vinyl. Shout out to everybody who's been copping the vinyl and run it up. We just getting started, like you said. It only been out 2 days, so just pay attention. Pay attention.
Yeah. Excited to have you guys just see more success, and really appreciate you guys coming on the show. This was awesome. Always
Thank
nice
you,
to
man.
chat.
Love you. Always, bro.
Peace. So there we have it. Another episode of the Rap Music Plug podcast presented by QLC TV. I hope this episode gave you some new perspectives and insights into what the greatest art form known to man in hip-hop music has to offer. If you want to support the show in the most meaningful way possible, it would be my absolute honor to have you as a patron in the new Rap Music Plug podcast Patreon. Through this Patreon, you will be getting exclusive content such as bonus episodes, exclusive album recommendations, exclusive playlists, early access to episodes, and more. And above all, though, you will be able to support the show directly in a way that will not only justify the crazy amount of time I spend on this show already, but allow me to cover some of the expenses related to supporting all of these great artists that we cover on the show. through the website, and will allow us to sustain and build on this amazing growth that the RMPP has experienced recently. So if you have any questions about any of the Patreon stuff, or just want to keep tabs on the show, interact with me on rap music and all the great stuff that we can talk about, follow me on Twitter and Instagram at rapmusicplugpod, or shoot me an email at qlctv.podcast@gmail.com. You can also rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts and subscribe on YouTube and Spotify as well. But that's enough self-promotion for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Peace.